Welcome to the Your Limitless Leadership Podcast with Jenny and Brent Widman. Here, we believe leadership isn't just about titles. It's about how you show up in every aspect of life. Whether you're leading a business, building a legacy as an entrepreneur, guiding your family, or striving to lead yourself first, this podcast is for you. Join us as we dive into real conversations about growth, decision-making, and the courage it takes to lead with purpose. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to become the limitless leader you are meant to be. This is your Limitless Leadership Podcast. Let's lead without limits.
Welcome to your Limitless Leadership Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jenny Widman, along with co-host Brent Widman. And thank you for joining us today. We have a special treat for you all. A couple weeks ago, Brent asked me who was that one person in my life that has impacted me the most when it comes to business and work ethic and just where I attribute where I am today in the leadership world. And the person I spoke about in that podcast was my dad, Oskar Nuut. And so we asked for him to join us today because his story is impressive. And so I just wanted him to talk about it. But the background of Oskar, he is a mechanical engineer by degree in the UK. And he moved into sales when he immigrated to the United States in 1986. It was 1 year before I was born, and my brother was 3 to 4 at the time with my mom. He started as a sales rep for a new startup company and progressed into a VP of sales in the paper industry. He changed companies to go back to engineering, and then he rejoined into sales and became a business paper manager. And then his last job he held in the paper industry, he was the export sales manager. And that gave him international exposure and responsibilities to travel back to Europe and the UK while raising my brother and I. And then for the past decade, he's been in real estate down in Florida and recently moved up here to Minnesota with my mom. So welcome, Dad, to our podcast today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So what I really wanted to, I just shared a lot about your background and just kind of how you got where you are today. But how did you get where you are today? What was it like from moving from the UK to United States with nothing? And then why did you get into sales and leadership? What's that story?
It probably starts off, like most things, very early in life, where basically, like a lot of people, I've been working since I was 8 years old and used to actually light fires for the Jewish community, which is where we lived within a Jewish community. They couldn't touch fire or electricity on the weekend. So I would go around their houses and light fires for them and help them any way I could. And then paper rounds and all that good stuff. So the question about where does it all start, the big move from the UK to America, it's more about having that work ethic. It was born in me from my parents, just like you kindly referenced me. My mum and dad were very, very hardworking, give me a great upbringing, and I wanted to do them proud. Any effort I've made, job-wise or family-wise, personal-wise, I've done it with 100% commitment. And part of that was growing myself, and I felt I could do that better in America than in the UK. The UK has it's changed now, it's changed greatly, but back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, when I was growing up, very distinct class system, working class, middle class, upper class. I was definitely working class. So to get ahead, I decided to try to come to America and create something different to what I could foresee in the UK. Thankfully, the best thing of all that was Susan, my wife, agreed to do it with me, because if she didn't, it would never have happened.
Mm.
So the sales part is, I'm a believer, and maybe I'm going off track here a smidgen, but I do that. Everybody's born a salesman. Everybody, even if you don't know it. Every day you're out there in the world, you are projecting an image of yourself. You are selling yourself, whether it's for a job interview, whether it's when you meet a friend, whether it's when you're trying to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Then basically you're trying to put the best version of yourself forward at all times. And it's easy to do that if it just comes naturally and if you're fundamentally honest, because then you can't get into trouble. Just be honest to yourself, honest with the people you're around. And it's got me where I've got today, to be honest. That's how I've got here. So the sales part, forgetting the fact that I've just said that we're all salesmen, everybody, or salespeople, comes from when I made the decision that I wanted to try to expand my life and opportunities in America. So I was firmly an engineer, but as I was doing engineering, as I moved up the levels within the engineering group, I started to help the salespeople in presentations. And what was clear to me within about 3 weeks was I was better than any of these salespeople. Which is my own kind of arrogance, but that's the way I kind of looked at things. But basically, the sales guy would stand up, do the introduction, sit down, then I'd do all the work. And I thought, wait a minute, they're getting paid more than me. They're doing all this travel. They're learning more than me. Maybe I should get into that sales stuff. So that's what I did. And I went for an interview within the UK company to be part of this new venture in America. And basically, I remember walking up. You've got to have confidence in this life, and the confidence built is within inside yourself. I knocked on the CEO's door. I mean, we're a big company. It's not like 100,000 people, but there's about 50 of us. I knocked on the CEO's door and said, "I believe you're looking for people to start up a company in America." He said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm your guy. Train me, get me up to speed on what I need to do and be successful within this organization, and I'll commit to do it." 2 years later from that date is when we emigrated. So it was actually 84 when we started that journey. It took 2 years. And in those 2 years, I kind of became that salesman. I trained, I went on jobs with good salespeople, sat down in meetings to witness how people conducted themselves. Tried to follow where I agreed with it, I would follow it. If I didn't agree with it, I would just cast it aside and not use it. And when we came over in '86, basically that's when I was officially a salesman. But what helped me tremendously, and I think anybody else who take this path, my confidence was built in the fact that I knew the product, I knew the end result. I went into meetings absolutely 100% convinced that any question they were going to ask, I could answer. It's a big difference, because when you go into those sales meetings, sometimes a lot of times they want to see somebody who's not smug or overconfident, but they want to see somebody who's self-assured, that knows what they're talking about, or if they don't have the answer, they have the wherewithal and smarts to go get that answer. And so the next 5 years, and 3 different states, because we started off in Connecticut, which is where Jenny was raised for a couple of years. Moved to Wisconsin. That didn't last long, and that company that we started, and I'll use the term, was kind of so successful that we kept getting bought out. So the last place we ended up was Ohio. And by that time, in Wisconsin, I'd become the VP of sales. And then we went to Ohio, and I became back to a sales manager, but in a larger organization. So, did I answer your question?
You did. Yeah. And there were a lot of great, even takeaways from that, or things I didn't even know, back to 8 years old and paper routes and hardworking. I mean, I knew that from grandpa and grandma and stuff, but it starts from foundational things that you did. And I didn't realize it was a 2-year process from when you asked to when you came over, which, you left your whole family, you left everybody, and you just knew that, America could provide potentially a better life for us, so that was great. I loved how you said confidence and walking into the CEO's room and just asking for what you want and then being groomed to it. One thing, knowledge breeds confidence, and you were so knowledgeable. So talk to us about that. Like, obviously it doesn't happen overnight, but what was your schedule? What did you do to become just the all knowing of what you were selling and whatnot?
Having a vision of where I was going to get to. I back then, and maybe they still do it now, but back then you had these 2-year plans, 3-year plans, 5-year plans, and my management system in the company I was within did push you to say, where are you going to be in the next 3 years? That was fairly new back in the 70s, really, I think, and that made me think. Well, you might want to be this guy who can do everything and be successful. I'm driven. I'm still driven, but now not in business, but to be the best granddad I can be. That's my driver. And part of that was learning what I would need to learn. So not only how to design, my background is the paper industry. I used to help design paper machines. Paper machines are some of them are quarter of a mile long. My focus was just really one bit of that was about 50 yards long, but it's still a fairly sizable piece of equipment. What I tended to do was, okay, there's a saying, it's not a new one: be a master of one and a jack of all trades of everything else. So that's what I did. I became basically knowledgeable about one specific area of a paper machine. It's called the dry end. But then not just leave it there, be knowledgeable enough that you knew what people were talking about in all the other sections of the paper machine. Okay, so be a master of one, but know a lot about everything else you can.
Mm-hmm.
That's what helped me become as good as I could be.
Mm-hmm.
And that took not just me. Now this is before Google. It was before internet. It was before Zoom. All that good stuff.
Yeah.
You did it by listening to people. You did it by doing it. You did it by calculating longhand, sign tables. Yeah, it was a good way to do stuff. You didn't
Yeah.
get an answer by just clicking. Hey, what's this? You couldn't do that. You had to formulate it, work on it, and doing it every day. And I will say that my family did suffer through part of that. And thankfully, I had a wife, you had a mother, who, when I was away doing all this work and training and applying myself, you were taken care of by best girl in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was hard work. I mean, there's nothing getting away from it. It's hard work. But you said something about, I don't know how long ago, maybe 10 years ago. And it was something like, there's a lot of things that are simple, but doesn't mean necessarily easy. You can make things simple by putting things in place by putting protocols in place that help you on your way. There's a process, what's called in machinery and in industry, there's a thing called process reliability. I don't know if you ever heard of that term or not, but process reliability, you apply it to a machine generally, okay? And what it means is you find the machine's sweet spot. So a machine should produce 10,000 gizmos a day. Two identical machines, one provides 8,000, one does 10,000. The people running them are the same, they're the same equipment, but one performs better than the other. Why? There's a system called process reliability to find what out. What you do is you break down every component of that machine that does 10,000 and you find out why it does it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you apply those findings to the machine that does 8. And all of a sudden, the 8 does 11. You think, wait a minute, why is this guy only doing 10 now? And you apply what you've learned and you just keep doing that. And the process is called process reliability. It's how you look at a process, you want it to be 100% reliable. How do you make it so?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the things I did a little bit different, I was in a paper mill once and doing this process. And it occurred to me, you can just do that with people as well. So there's, again, going off, I do this, I go all over the place. But basically, there was a guy there, John, we'll call him John, because when I tell the story, I always use John. And great guy, brilliant, used to know his stuff, family guy, hard worker. He used to come to work every morning 10 minutes late. Every single morning, 10 minutes late. And then leave 50 minutes late to make up for that 10 minutes. And I said to him, why don't we just get here on time and go home on time? And you've saved 40 odd minutes of your day. Instead of every day, you'll come back 40 minutes. And he says, well, no, I can't do that because before I get here, I've got to do this, get the kids to school, make the breakfast, bump it up, ba-dum. And quite honestly, I used process reliability with John and said, no, we're going to fix this. And we did. It just meant he had to wake up 15 minutes earlier. Literally. Anyway, but you can apply, one of the things I like to share, you can apply things that you learn in engineering
Mm-hmm.
and apply them to yourself. It's not just we are machines, we feed. You have a husband that he's chicken, like it's going out of fashion,
Yeah.
It's fuel. If he doesn't get the right fuel, he can't perform the way he wants to perform, And that's that whole thing. I go back to that process reliability. You get up at a certain time, you get your exercise in, you feel good. You help your kids get ready for school, you feel good. You eat right, you live right, and it's self-perpetuating.
Get the right sleep, all the things. Yes.
You go, right.
I love that. I mean, we say like reverse engineering what we need to do for our day to get the end result that we want by 5:00, right? And just figuring out the things personal and business related that will help you to be the most efficient and effective as possible.
Yeah.
But okay, so I've known you to be a salesperson my whole life. I've known that you've been in sales your whole life. However, I also know you to be in leadership most of the life. So what was your transition from working with machines and selling at presentations to working with John to help him with his day?
I would categorize it as caring. That basically, the way I work, and I know everyone's not like this, but for me to do a good job, I have to care about it. I have to give it 100%. I'm not smart enough. I never have been. I've never been smart enough or glib enough or whatever the word is to be able to be successful unless I really cared about the end result.
Mm.
And so even back in the day when I was selling a machine, my motivation was, basically, I knew the people that were going to be making. If I got the order, I knew the people that were going to be making that machine. It's jobs for them. It's work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, growing up in the 70s and 80s, people were made, use the word redundant. You got laid off. If you didn't have enough work, you got laid off. And so a drive for me was to care about what I was doing. And then when I got into sales, and eventually became that VP of sales, then I had 5 direct salespeople, another dozen, 20 odd people indirectly reporting to me. And I took the same approach that basically, now my job is not to just look after to me, it's to help anybody who wants to, and basically it's that low hanging. If somebody comes to me and says, I want to really succeed, can you help me do it? Yeah. Versus the guy who was happy to just work 9 till 5, I'm going to put more effort into the guy who really wants to put the effort in.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it. And it's the way I was. So it was mostly, you read the books, the Covey and, all those guys and the 7 Habits and again, a little aside, this is the arrogance sometimes that I can have within myself. I remember somebody recommending, I'm sure it was probably the CEO at the time, saying, you've got to read this book. Stephen Covey is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I said, oh yeah, I'll read it. Yeah, great. Picked it up, read it over like 4 days, and sat there and think, I do this. I already do this. What did I read this for? So of course I didn't do it to the extent of, but the germs of the idea of, just listening to people, being on time, getting yourself out there, learning all the time. I'd always done that.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that gave me that self-assurance again, because you get into that leadership, you get into that self-assurance that what I've been doing or trying to do to certain degrees is what everyone says will lead to success. So then let them see how you performed and emulate the parts that helped.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everybody's different. Okay. There's no one way to be successful. I believe in that. One of the things, and I guess one of the things that helped me tremendously, which won't apply to the vast majority of people, but I have to share it, because in subsequent team meetings, when we have little things, especially when we got into realty, about every 2 years, we'd have to give a description of one of your colleagues and explain why they were successful or why they weren't successful. And number of times that I had that over the years, the reason they said is I talk different.
Your accent?
My accent. That basically, because I'm in America, I walk into a room, speak with this English accent. They go, "Oh, he's got to be smart. He's from a different country. He's got a briefcase." I mean, so I have had, even though I joke about that a little bit, I actually believe that's true. I think if an American walked into a British office and started talking, they go, "Oh, he's different." So sometimes it doesn't have to be accent. Okay. A little funny. I think it's a funny story. I'll share it with you a little bit. But when I was in the pure engineering mode and I was doing this following and helping the salespeople, and I was in that stage of, wait, I could do that and I could do better. We go for dinner with a group of customers, and I'm sat with this guy, and we're talking. I'm getting to laugh. Okay, and it's that personality thing.
Yeah.
And I think I do, for all my faults and all my blessings, one of the things I think I do have is a personality.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sat down there and I'm talking away, and I'm talking about this experience I had about eating lamb one time. I won't bore you with the story, but it's kind of funny. Anyway, we're eating lamb one time, and they're all laughing, thinking, "Oh yeah, I love this." And the guy next to me, who'd been very, very quiet, high up guy, I can't remember what his position was, and he says, table. So everyone shuts up. So he was pretty high up. He says, I just want to go on record. This is the first time I've met an engineer with a personality.
Yeah.
And everybody laughed. And it was that made me realize I could bridge that gap. I could go from engineering into sales. I knew at that moment I'd kind of could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rather than the hope I could do it. So I don't know how I got into that, but hey, there you go.
No, this is great. I mean, the original question was just sales into leadership, but how much you said, just caring. One of my follow-up questions was going to be like, how did you care? But you said you got into the details. You listened. You showed up on time. You were trustworthy. You were honest, and I'm sure the accent didn't hurt.
Let's explore that a little bit. So in Wisconsin, it was especially pertinent because I had a couple of younger guys. I wasn't old myself. I was maybe late 30s, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a couple of 20-year-olds, 24-year-olds salespeople. So I did, and one of the things I have pride myself is listening to people. Now, thankfully, my wife's not stood behind me. I never listen to her. She tells me all the time. But I do listen. When it comes to work, you listen for a few different reasons. Number one, it's your job to listen. Okay, if you're a manager, you need to listen to the people that are reporting to you and understand their concerns. That's the first part. The second part is you never stop learning, ever. So anytime you're willing to listen in the right way, and I don't just mean listen to the words. I mean listen to the meaning, listen to the inference, listen to where it's come from. And try and respond positively to it. Yeah, that's got to be a good thing. And that again, people want to know. So if you listen to people and they're asking the question, you might not have the answer. If you just go away and forget about it, you've lost them. What you've got to do is go away, think about it, and pull them in and say, we talked about that subject a few days ago. I just want you to know that I took the time to think that through. Here's my thoughts. Try, just little things like that. And it might not even be work related, but following through, you just said it, following through with promises, I mean, don't give a promise you can't keep. I mean, stuff like that. But lead by example and reward. There's another thing. Well, I was very fortunate in the company I worked for 8 years. There was a program in there, a reward program. One of the things, at least to the day when I left that company, I was the number one person that did that. There was a reward program. If somebody excelled, I don't mean just doing a good job plus. I mean something super efficient, effective. If they could demonstrate that, we had a program where you could give them $1,000, or you could give them five. I think 5,000 was the most. Now these people were earning, maybe 1,000 a month. 1,000 back then, $1,000 a reward was like 10,000 now. I was the biggest giver of rewards in the whole organization because my position was, wait a minute, we've had a program to reward exceptional work. Use it. And so I'd be, but I wouldn't just willy nilly. They would have to show great results, and that's one of the ways you do it. So yeah, it's always great. Anybody who likes to say a well done, attaboy, pat on the back, good job. Okay, I'm not saying that's not worth a value. Of course it is. But when somebody knows there's a program in place and it's not being taken care of, and you think you're busting a gut and doing great work, use it. Use any tools you've got available within your organization to promote excellent work. And again, I would say that shows leadership too.
One of the great 8 motivators of, affirmation is one, leadership titles, all this, but gifts and earning that respect is another. So, using the tools within your organization. And some people do not do that as much as they should, as you saw. Yep. So what's like the one thing that you did through your tenure that happened that you didn't expect and you learned from?
That's a great question. And so I'm going to turn it a little bit. And the question I've been asked in the past is, what's the one professional thing you've done that you're most proud of? Which kind of gets to, I think, that same answer. To me, it's the perfect marriage of my engineering life and sales life, and did help cross that void again when I moved company. So I'd now left the machinery making company and moved to a company called Weyerhaeuser, which is a big forest product company based out of Washington and state. And one of my first roles there, it's when I went back into engineering from sales. One of my first roles there was called Color Control Program. And the reason why it surprised me but rewarded me greatly is because I'd been really a one-man show. Coming over from America was a one-man decision. Coming over from the UK, sorry, was a one-man decision. The startup company was just 7 people. We all had to do everything to make it work, but we all did our separate. It wasn't like it was a team when we were together, but we didn't work as a team, as it were. Right. Okay, we were all doing our separate things. When I joined Weyerhaeuser, I was then fully in a team atmosphere, really, for the first time outside of sports. The only time I was in a true team was when I was playing all my sports as a kid. Mm-hmm. And there was 4 of us in this color control team. And we all had distinct roles to one was an IT expert, one was a logistics. My role was what was called knowledge transfer. My boss at the time, Larry Erickson, great guy, he didn't like education. He didn't like the word education. He didn't like the word teach. His one was knowledge transfer. If you need to get something accomplished, and by accomplishing that, somebody needs to understand something, you don't teach it because there's no guarantee that they're going to learn it. But if you can transfer that knowledge, it means the knowledge you've got is transferred to the other person and they can do something with it. So my title was knowledge transfer. So my role was taking all the technology that was being put together with the equipment, and then ensuring that when we put that system into place at a paper mill, it didn't just get left in a shelf and nobody use it. My job was to make sure it got used. Mm. And cut a long story short, we were immensely successful. My reward was that kindred spirit between the 4 of us, knowing we were successful and that each of us played an equal part on it being successful. I'd never experienced that before, really. We got awarded the President's Award from Weyerhaeuser, which only one team, Weyerhaeuser have thousands of projects going on every year. We won it one year, and it was a big deal. And so we knew we'd done well. Mm-hmm. And to this day, the technology we put into that one mill now is over 22 mills because Weyerhaeuser kept expanding, and saves that company millions of dollars a year for that project that we put together 30 years ago. Mm. Okay. So the surprise, to answer your question, was how I was reluctant a little bit at first because I was used to being my own man. But by then, really bonding with these other 3 people, and we were all different. We all had our difference of opinion. We argued and stuff, but we had a common goal. All by working to that common goal, my surprise was how much I enjoyed that. And 30 years on, how it still remains my own personal best work experience.
Wow. That's awesome in terms of just being able to work with a team that you feel at the end of it is equal parts to
Right.
the growth, because it doesn't happen all the time. But
And there's one of the guy called Don, who was very, very abrupt, very, very smart, probably the smartest guy I've ever met, technically.
Mhm.
Zero social skills. A week into it, we sat around the table and he says, I don't even know why Oscar's on the team. What does he bring? What do we need this guy for? I mean,
And you
that's a
were there?
weekend. Yeah. I mean, because which is, to be honest with you, that's what I prefer. I prefer honesty rather than say that to the other two and then the other two say that to me. I'd rather somebody come to me and say, you know. So, number one, you see, I wasn't upset. I knew I could bring something, but that's because of my positive manner about everything in the world anyway. But again, within a month, he came over to me and said, now I know we're on a team. He said, because there's no way I could get and was his words, there's no way I could get one of these country bumpkins who are in the paper mill to understand what I'm trying to tell them, because his mindset, his level of trying to explain something, 99% of the population couldn't understand it.
Mhm.
My job was to take that technology and bring it, okay, you could say dumb it down, but bring it to a level that people could understand
Layman's
and
term.
use.
Hmm.
Exact. And that was my forte, and that's what I did.
Which is
So
why you were
yeah,
the knowledge transfer dude.
that's the one.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Well, it's working with different personality styles, and one of the biggest things that you notice when you go into companies and work with high-end C-suite people is there's some strengths that that person has, and there's some strengths that you guys have, and when you can all use your strengths in one, it you move faster, you move better,
Yeah.
you accomplish more than you ever thought was possible. And that's your job, is to create an A team around you and people that are better than you in every other area. And so to see the four, your four different personalities come together as one, and that honesty and openness and abruptness and abrasiveness and camaraderie and forgiveness. I mean,
Yep.
look at what you accomplished. It's one of your biggest accomplishments today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Totally
amazing.
agree.
I guess one of my last questions I've always, I feel like is I'd love to know is who's been that person in your life when you were younger, when you were high up in the sales world, that really impacted you, that got you where you are today in terms of mentorship.
Wow, that's a good one. So I can't start that conversation without mentioning my mum, because she was the driver. She was the driver in terms of, she didn't want me to be this kid who where I lived there was one school where you went to, unless you passed these exams that allowed you to go to what's called the grammar school, which is like the posh school. And my mum said to me, you're not going to that grammar, you're not going to that school around the corner. You're going to go to the big school. And nobody on the street went to the big school. I did. But that's because my mum pushed it. I mean, I had to drive myself, but my mum wanted it to happen also. So by having that support made, to me, the difference. Okay. By not doing the homework versus doing it, was my mum said, well, unless you do the homework, you're not going to a big school. Oh, I better do it then. So without that push, so that's the first one. And most life, if you're lucky, I had wonderful parents, wonderful childhood. And so, yeah, the seed was sown very early on.
Mhm.
All right. Then, and I'm not really giving this much thought, but I have to say, there's not many. There's not many when it all my drive, a lot of my drives just it's here, it really is. What helped me the most is having a wife that supported me and allowed me to fulfill my ambitions. A lot of them very selfish ones. Moving to America was a selfish ambition that Sue supported. Okay. When I'm going out and I'm talking about caring about people and working with people and helping them develop and not losing contracts. I hated losing the contract. Hated it. Well, no, I don't use the word hate to it, Jenny,
Mm.
but detested it. Okay. I couldn't have done that unless I knew Sue was raising my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So my support, the backbone of our support is family. It is. Okay. There uh, there was the guy. Now that I'm thinking it, there's a guy. Tom. I can't remember his surname. I should remember it. When I was 16 years old, got my first job. So I was doing part-time college, part-time work,
Mm-hmm.
and Tom said to me, "Come up with a 3-word stanza, 3 words that you can live up to." That you're going into this Scottish guy, 6'4", scared the bejesus out of me. Come up with these 3 words, make them mean something, and I want to hear them tomorrow. So I thought about it, long hard about it. Partly because I was scared what he was going to do if I didn't, and I did. And I use it to. It was deliver the goods. The 3 words I came up with was deliver the goods. And he liked it. He really liked it. And then he explained, and he showed me how then to expand that. What do you mean deliver the goods? Do you mean that you're going to be a grocer, and you're going to deliver them, or if you're going to commit to something, does it mean that you're going to deliver on your commitment? If you say you're going to do something, and I'm saying, well, yeah, all of those. And so I would say Tom. Kills me. I can't remember his second name, but Scottish guy. Sure, it began with a Mac. Must have been with a Scottish guy. So, and then actually, Jeff, the CEO of the guy who said yes, come to America,
Erica.
Jeff Hall. He believed because he believed in me. He'd known me. He'd kind of cared for me a little bit as I came into the company, and he's the guy I went in and said, I want to do, I'm your guy. And if he would not have said, yeah, okay, you're the guy, then things could have been totally different. And then I mentioned him earlier, in terms of an honest, caring, straight guy, Larry Erickson. He's my manager at Weyerhaeuser when I joined there. And just a wonderful, wonderful guy who, again, they were in a hiring, I've shared this with you again, it's this thing about determination. And maybe I've not hit on that too much during this little chat, but once you want something, then get it. Go get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to work for Weyerhaeuser. I don't know where it was. I'd come across them in my previous job. I'd worked in their mills, and I liked the people. I liked the way they did things. I liked the structure they had. It seemed to be a company that actually cared for their employees. And so I got into my mind, I'm going to work for Weyerhaeuser. Okay. Now, the fact that they were across the other side of America, in Washington State, didn't matter because I'd just come over from, I'd come over years earlier from England.
Yeah.
So, but they were on a hiring freeze for 12 months. And Larry, I interviewed with Larry, and he said, Oscar, we'd love to have you, but we can't hire you. We're on a hiring freeze. And I said, well, what does that mean? He says, well, it means we can't hire anybody unless somebody leaves, and then we can get approval. Then maybe we can bring somebody in, but we can't add to our numbers. As much as if we could, I'd hire you tomorrow. I waited 6 months. It's the longest time I've been out of a job was those 6 months. And it was to my own choosing. I had other job offers in the paper industry to go to, but my mind was set. I wanted to join Weyerhaeuser. I wanted to be part of that company. I knew I could do good things for them. And so every week I'd be calling Larry up and saying, "Hey, it's me." And to his credit, great credit, he gave in. Basically, he found a way, even during the hiring freeze, he found a way to get me in. So yeah, Larry Erickson, I'd say, is the other guy that springs to mind when you say about mentors. That's the guy who, again, he believed in me. And when you have people that believe in you, you'll go to heaven and back to prove them right. And that's what he did. And I guess the last person I should mention, is Bob Firth. So when I left the paper industry, I had to sell our house. Lovely house, we loved it, but we couldn't afford it because I wasn't earning too much money. And Bob came to me after knowing me a little bit and said to me, "So what are you going to do when we sell your house?" I said, "I have no idea. I don't know, but I'll find something. I'll make something work. I mean, I have no doubt about that." He said, "Well, no, neither do I." He said, "And I'm so convinced in that is if you decide to take your license exam, pass it, join me." And I always remember this, and this is the thing about trusting in people and then repaying them. He said, "I'll do something for you that no other realtor, no other broker will do." I said, "What's that?" He says, "The very first day you come to work, I'll give you every single lead that comes into this office. I won't pick and choose." I said, "Even though you're raw, it'll be your first day of the job. I will give you every single lead." And I was thinking, that sounds pretty good. And then I found out it's more than pretty good. It's really, really good. And that's what happened. And again, and he was a great man. He was a great mentor for me in terms of real estate. He'd been in business 20 years, was honest, hardworking, knew when to say no, which is a good thing. Listening, how to listen to people. And yeah, I must admit, I think I was a natural when it came to real estate because I'd moved so often. I cared about people, cared about the homes that I would find in them. And it was a perfect match. So I did that for the last 12 years until I just retired this year to become a granddad. Proper, full-time granddad.
Well,
There you go.
And you might be recruited here very shortly to take on a couple of coaching clients too. That's amazing. I'm just so glad that we did this. All the things that you shared are exactly how I would describe you. But knowing even more of the backstory of things and nuances, stories from Weyerhaeuser and how you got here and, you know, ask, calling weekly until a position came. I mean, that's something I would do in a heartbeat, asking for what you want, determination, caring about people. It's just, it makes sense. And it makes sense why you gave me an amazing lifestyle growing up. And even though we moved all the time for a long time, it was worth it because it's made me who I am. So that's awesome. Well, any last comments or words or any ask of you of how we can make your life better? What's
Well, no, you personally and Brent have made our life better by a little 4-year-old and a little 10-year-old, and so yep. Thank you for that. The other part I'll say it's going to sound a bit corny because you are my daughter, but I learn from you every single day. I am so proud of you. I'm coming up now, so that's my parting word. I'm proud of you, my girl, and keep doing the great stuff that you do.
Love it. our goal is to help others achieve their goals in life. So any way we can put that part into the world, the better. But thanks, Dad. And now you're gonna make me cry and I have a Zoom in 2 minutes.
You're welcome.
I love
God
you.
bless. Love
Bye.
you too, Dan.
Thanks for joining us on the Your Limitless Leadership Podcast with Jenny and Brent Widman. We hope today's conversation inspired you to think differently about leadership, not just in your career, but in every part of your life. Remember, leadership starts with leading yourself first. It's about taking action, making bold decisions, and showing up with purpose. Now, it's time to take what you've heard today and put it into practice. Whether it's in your business, your community, your family, or your own personal growth, start leading without limits. You have the power to become the leader you're meant to be. Until next time, keep pushing your boundaries and leading with purpose.